Hey folks, today we're diving into a powerful tool in the fascist playbook. Scapegoating. Scapegoating redirects public anger towards vulnerable groups instead of addressing real economic and political problems. This tactic distracts from systemic failures, prevents solidarity, and fuels cycles of violence, helping authoritarian movements consolidate power. Historically, scapegoating has been central to the rise of fascism, and today we see similar tactics being weaponized against immigrants and LGBTQ+ people and racial minorities. Let's start with the historical context. In Nazi Germany, Jews, communists, and trade unions were blamed for Germany's post-WWI economic crisis. Hitler framed the Weimar Republic's failure as a stab in the back by internal enemies. This led to widespread acceptance of anti-Semitic laws, persecution, and ultimately genocide. In fascist Italy and Spain, Mussolini blamed communists and socialists for Italy's post-war instability, while Franco's Spain used Catholic nationalism to justify violent purges against unpatriotic leftists. And let's not forget 19th and 20th century America, where Chinese immigrants were blamed for economic hardship, resulting in the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. During the Great Depression, Mexican workers were falsely blamed for job losses, leading to mass deportations. These historical patterns mirror today's anti-immigrant hysteria, showing how the same tactics repeat. Scapegoating isn't just a tool of war-era fascists. It has been a recurring strategy in capitalist societies facing economic crises. Now let's talk about modern parallels. Right-wing leaders frame immigration as an existential threat to national identity. Trump's build the wall rhetoric turned immigrants into scapegoats for economic struggles, and European far-right parties use Islamophobia to blame refugees for social instability. Then there's the anti-LGBTQ+ moral panic. Far-right movements use trans and queer people as scapegoats for cultural decline. Media outlets push conspiracy theories about LGBTQ+ indoctrination in schools. Historically, fascists have always used family values rhetoric to justify oppression. And don't get me started on QAnon. QAnon repackages old anti-Semitic conspiracy theories into modern digital propaganda, pushing the idea that global elites are running a secret child trafficking ring. This strategy mirrors past fascist regimes that accuse minorities of corruption and degeneracy. Modern scapegoating follows the same patterns as historical fascist movements, but spreads faster and more dangerously through social media and right-wing media networks. So why does scapegoating work? It provides easy answers to complex problems. Instead of addressing systemic issues like corporate greed and government failures, people are told their problems stem from immigrants, LGBTQ+ people, or outsiders. It builds group identity through shared enemies, creating an us versus them mentality that solidifies political loyalty. And it prevents working-class solidarity. By turning marginalized groups against each other, elites prevent class-based resistance from forming. Finally, it justifies violence and repression. Once a group is dehumanized, oppression and violence against them become acceptable. Now let's talk about lessons from past failures to counter scapegoating. Many efforts have failed due to poor strategy. One big mistake, appealing to facts instead of emotions. Rational arguments do not break propaganda-fueled fear and hatred. Progressives often focus on disproving right-wing myths, instead of creating a compelling counter-narrative. The New Deal successfully unified workers across racial and class lines, but many later movements failed to replicate this solidarity. And there's the emotional power of fear. Fear-based narratives are far more persuasive than logical arguments. Progressives must learn to use emotional messaging effectively. All right, folks, that's it for today. Remember, the success of fascism depends on keeping the public divided, distracted, and afraid. Countering scapegoating is essential to resisting authoritarian movements. Thanks for watching.